All right, we are on a septic tank repair. It's hard to see now, it's all in a bunch of pieces, but it had a cast iron line going between the first septic tank here and the second septic tank, which is the opening is right here. So this is a two tank system. This build was in the 1960s, so it is typical from that time frame for the construction to be with cast iron. And so there was a cast iron pipe between the tanks and it was rotting away. And I want to show you what is actually happening in those pipes. So here is a piece of the pipe right here. You can see how deteriorated it is, and it actually broke into these little pieces like this just by hand with the shovel. It didn't take much effort at all for it to break apart. So what happens is, as this cast iron is deteriorating, it allows this buildup of sludge to happen on the inside of it. So you can see how hard this is. This is not pipe. This is sludge, old sludge that's been sitting in that pipe for years and years and years collecting. And it sits in the bottom of that pipe like that, and it just builds on itself until eventually it plugs up and causes the system to back up into the home. So this is something that you want to be real conscious of if you have a home that was built primarily before 1980. You most likely have cast iron. Even if the plumbing inside the house may be plastic, it may have been replaced at some point. It's likely that if the system hasn't been replaced outside, you still have components of cast iron, either between the house and the tank, or between septic tanks, or even sometimes you'll see it between the tanks and the drain field. So just something that you want to be thinking about if you've got a home that's 40 to 50 to 60 years old. This is what you're going to start finding happening in that cast iron pipe. So all cast iron will need to be replaced. There's no getting around that. So it's something that you do want to think about. You could preventatively replace those lines once you start getting to this age, to avoid that buildup from happening inside those pipes and ultimately backing up in the house. And here's a real good example of how these cast iron pipes can start to constrict themselves. So you can see the outside of this is actually in pretty good shape. All right, this is just a little 2 or 3 inch section that I found. So the outside looks okay. So you might have had it inspected from the outside and it's pretty solid and not bad. But if you look at it from the inside, look how much that's starting to constrict. Look at that little hole in the center. That's all that's available for all the waste from the house to go through. So this is exactly what happens as time goes by. That sludge builds up. You can see it builds up on 360 degrees of the interior of that pipe. And this is, I would say, constructed well past 50% at this point. So you can imagine a wad of toilet paper trying to come down the line. It could easily get lodged in there, and then things build up, and it doesn't take much to cause a backup. So in the short term, if you get a good snake through there with a good knife on it, sometimes that can open it up and get you by for a little while. But if you have somebody out with a camera and they see this down the line, you want to really start thinking about replacing that line, because it's just going to happen again and become worse and worse. And you especially know that once it starts getting to this point, that pipe does start to become brittle, and eventually that'll rot away and collapse on itself as well. So let us know if you have any questions. Again, this was a repair. The cast iron line deteriorated between 2 tanks, and we'll be replacing that with PVC pipe and with a new outlet device in the first tank. So there you go. Cast iron will deteriorate and rot away and does have to be replaced. So you want to be thinking about it. Okay, I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks. Bye.